Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of E-Heroes for those keeping count. This is episode 249, so we're almost fast approaching 250. Now, today's episode, we're going to talk about hiring a unicorn. Now, I don't want you to be confused because we probably will mention my book, Rob versus the Unicorns, but if you haven't read it, go get it. It's on Amazon. Now that I'm done plugging my book, let's bring on my next guest, Emily Reagan. And this is just going to be a fun conversation because I've had this sarcastic take on dealing with scammers and morons and even unicorns, whereas Emily helps transform awesome people into those unicorns that we all want to hire. So welcome and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I am excited to talk about how our versions of unicorns are two different things, and sometimes they get a bad rep both ways. So can't wait to unpack it with you.
And when they do get a bad vibe, when they get, I think elevated to the point where they think that they're above people, well, then they just get thrown into my next book. And it usually happens because they were a little too patronizing, especially when I call, and I need customer service. And it goes to a foreign call center. And they just, well, did you do this? Did you do this? Oh my, yes. And then you get to this level where you're like, I don't want to deal with people anymore.
Yes.
No, just, but I'm actually looking on your website, and it's great because you basically spell out, the common traits that kind of we should all be looking for in a unicorn.
Yeah. I feel like for years, my clients, I've always done freelance marketing. There's a whole backstory to that. But for years, my clients are like, what do you do? And I really struggled with what is that job title? So I jokingly said to my teammate, I'm a unicorn. I mean, and I think that's why I was always booked out, because I came to the table with journalism background, public relations background. Being a military spouse, I've had a ton of different jobs that really added up to this magical skill set. It was hard to find. And my definition of a unicorn is someone who's rare, highly desirable, difficult to find and obtain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I jokingly said that, and I'm like, I'm not just a VA. That term VA always kind of pissed me off because it sounded so underling. And I'm in here making decisions for my business clients and helping them grow massive email lists and nurturing their audience and selling. And so I made that joke, and then that kind of started me on this train of what do I really do, because we all kind of need to have a clear job title or be able to say very succinctly what do we do, right?
Yeah.
So people can understand, especially in the marketing space. My mom still thinks I build websites from scratch. I do not do that. I might have done that a time or two, but that is not a core service. So that unicorn just kind of encapsulated somebody who is owning multiple skill sets and owning it like a boss, because this day and age, everyone's like niche, niche, niche. And I have a whole spiel about that. I'm like, you can be good at multiple things. You can combine it in a way that makes you stand out in this industry. You aren't the same as everyone else, especially in this VA world. And I know it's taking off because I see people using it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really flattering. And I'm just going to choose to be flattered by it.
Oh yeah, and people look at me and they're like, and even my mom, same thing. She has no idea the extent of what I do. She thinks, oh, I write books, or I build websites, or I create social, so much more.
Yeah.
I started out years ago. I mean, in my past life, I had a carpet cleaning business, and I ran that for 19 years. Sold that, started writing books, and I had been consulting prior to writing books, but it really never took off until my books came out. And but the books, by and large, are part of my marketing.
Yeah.
They get clients that come in. They get clients that say, "Hey, I want you to help me with my book, or help me with my marketing or doing this." And so I'm doing multiple things. And I just think that for me, it helps because I'm not focused on the same thing day in and day out.
Yes, I agree.
But it can be confusing to my employees, to contractors, to vendors, because their brains don't work like mine. And
Mm.
so it's, you know, most entrepreneurs have ADD. We've all acknowledged that. For me, it's I'm on hyper time all the time. In the morning I get so much stuff done, so that in the afternoon I can focus on something else. And trying to train a VA to do all that, for me is very time consuming.
Yeah, it's hard, and you can't expect somebody to have the same brain as you. I confess I have been Googling the last year and WebMDing if I also have ADHD, because I know I am also not the same, and people cannot keep up with me. And I hear a lot of my business friends that are like, I want a VA who's fast, that like on that
Mm.
Colby, like the quick start. Well, then the problem is they pay them next to nothing, expect them to be available 24/7. And I'm like, they like economics here.
Yeah.
No, if you need somebody to be on call more, you pay them more.
Hmm.
Like that's how it works. So I think there's like expectation adjustment there, but yeah, and you get stuck in this thing. I know I do, where it's just quicker if I do it myself, because
Hmm.
I am good at a lot of things. And yes, does that bottleneck my business? Does that just empower people? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm. It took me a long time to learn to let go and have someone else do it, and so now when we build websites, I'll send it off
Okay.
to one of my team members, and I'm waiting. It's like I could already had it built, but I have to give them time to do it, and then I'll come back after it's built and say, okay, let's tweak this, and then I can just focus on something else. And it drives me nuts sometimes because I want to just get it done.
Yes.
Uh,
Especially when I have a creative idea.
mhm,
Like this is so stupid. I'm going to share it. I was reading Laura Belgrave's new book, which I love that essay style. I love David Sedaris. I love humor, sarcasm. I
mhm,
love quick chapters. So I was reading her book and I'm like, I saw this video on TikTok about how to do a reel like for a book. And I'm like, I just want to do that for her. Like, it's not going to make me any money.
mhm,
It's just me wanting to play, because that's the marketing brain. I have this amazing idea. I just want to try it. And I do have a little bit of a video background. But I'm like, stop, focus. Like you have all these things due this week, and this is the power week for me trying to get ready for summer. And I just have to like keep myself in check. But I wish I had more help in my own business so I could pursue some of these little. I know it's a shiny object, but it's what lights me up. And
mhm,
100%, this is why I am an entrepreneur. I'm a freelancer, because I want to have fun.
mhm,
There's a reason I'm not driving to Capital One downtown Richmond every day and I have a corporate marketing job right now, because this
mhm,
is what lights me up. So it's knowing that sweet spot and talking to my team about it. Like, ideas, this is just for ideas. Like, we don't
yeah.
have to act on it right now, but like I would secretly love it if you did.
Well, and the thing is that you've hit on these common traits that I've been teaching for years, and let's go over them because I think they're very important for everybody to understand. The one is we don't take every client who wants us, and I've been preaching that to everybody, and there's a lot of people who are like they'll disagree with me, and I'm always saying, look, if you can focus on that ideal avatar, they're going to give you less hassle. They're going to pay you more money. They're going to
Mhm.
refer you to people just like them, and you're going to love your business. But people were like, well, I want everybody because I just want to serve. Well, that's going to burn you out so quickly because 80% of them are going to be a pain in the ass. The other 20% are going to be the ones that fortify your business with not only money but joy and passion, and then your second one, we set boundaries. You
Mhm.
have to set boundaries. You know, these cell
Yeah.
phones are our crutch. They are kind of the umbilical cord that connect us to problems. And when we answer these every single day, we are telling our customer, hey, we're available. Just
Yeah.
give us a call anytime. No, I have my ringer off every day for a reason. The only time I answer my call is for scammers, so I can waste their time so they go in the next book. And people are like, well, Rob, you answer scam calls all the time, but you don't answer my call and I'm paying you. Are you really? No, you're calling to waste my time. You're calling in the book. And so people don't call me anymore. They text me, they WhatsApp me, and that becomes a problem too because there's no boundaries on those digital assets that we have.
Yeah. We use a Voxer a lot, and I have with my clients. And I can remember being in a big launch with my biggest client, and I was mom of four. I'm still a mom of four. My husband was deployed for a year, so I was just drowning. And I remember waking up, not getting to my phone right away, and just seeing 98 unheard Voxer messages. And I'm like, that's probably like 2 hours of like time wasting, BS. And I mean, I still am guilty with my team because I will listen to Voxers, but things get dropped.
Yeah.
How many balls get dropped when you're just, or like processing ideas and thoughts? So I'm trying to be better. I think that makes me a tough client. Like I want to be the cool client to work for because now I have a team of 5 contractors working with me. But I'm also like in my head because I don't want to be that client, but I know I am that client a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just like the nature of it.
And to further on with these traits, the third one is we charge more. And I want everybody to understand that, um, trying to charge low and making it up in volume doesn't work.
No.
And people say, well, you should charge what you're worth. Most people have no idea what they're worth. So they undercharge because someone else will say, well, our budget is this, and they give such a small amount. And your brain goes, well, I think I can kind of work within that budget. No, you work above and beyond. I've noticed so many people say, well, wow, my price is this. Yeah, it should be like double or triple. And they say, well, the market won't bear it. Yes, the market will bear it. That's why there's a difference between people, buying Cadillacs versus Ford Pintos. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always money out there.
Yeah. There's
And
a buyer at every price.
yeah.
And then the one thing I like to teach my students too is I really see 2 pockets of clients here. Okay, first of all, you think about the project management triangle. I know you know it. Like people want it done quickly, they want it done cheaply, or they want it done like high quality. Well, everybody wants high quality. No one wants to pay for something that doesn't work, is broken, and is shitty. So you look at the time versus money. Which client's going to be better for us?
Yeah.
The one saving money or the one saving time? It's economics. People will pay more for time saving. The money saving clients, and you talk about this whole ideal client, they're the worst because they're going to treat you like a commodity and they're going to replace you. They're always going to be price shopping, and they're not going to like quite see that value. It's just like a harder lift. So the low hanging fruit is the client who maybe has done the work before and really understands how much time, right? They really get it. Or the one who just doesn't even want to do it because they are out of time. Like that's the sweet spot for like hitting all 3 of those bullet points we just talked about. Is that what you see too in your marketing work?
Yeah, I mean, when I started out in the consulting field, most of my clients were carpet cleaners because that's the industry I knew at the time. As I shifted, most of my clients now are lawyers and doctors. Just, different. Do they spend more? Yes, they do. But the level of marketing that they desire is so much higher. But it's more enjoyable for us as a team to create it to get them clients. And so, I think as an entrepreneur, you have to understand when to transition. And, if this type of clientele is no longer serving, then move higher.
Yeah.
But that also comes with charging more. If people perceive that your prices are too low, there's something wrong with you.
Yes. And you wonder, does this person not do good work? Do they not see their value?
Right.
Why are they so low? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up because I do talk about that too. I have a couple people in my community who are still doing $20 an hour.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, they have got some deep self-worth to work on, some
Yeah.
issues to work through, but I'm like, God, you add up all your freaking experience, all the training you've done, all the time in grade, add in your former degree, like you're like somebody's dream unicorn because not only that, you can speak about thinking of one girl in my community who has a nutrition background. Like you're someone's dream content marketer
Right.
because you know nutrition.
Yeah.
Like, why are you charging $20 an hour?
And here's the flip side on that. If you're charging by the hour, someone's always going to find someone cheaper than you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're charging by the project or by
Yeah.
the month, you tell people, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do." You never tell them how long it's going to take. So it could take you a fraction of the time. Now you're making $100 an hour, $300 an hour,
Yeah.
1,000 an hour, and no one's going to question you because you package it all together.
Yeah. You're
But the
rewarded
moment,
for being efficient.
but the moment you say $20 an hour, they're going to try to uh, watch your time. They're going to try to get you to the cheapest value. And you're going to go, well, damn, I just got all this stuff done in 3 hours and I made $60 when you could have packaged it all together, charged them $1,000 and you'd be going, oh, make it more.
Yeah. So I have a little bit of a hybrid model I teach for some of my new people. When you're brand new, charging hourly, but in a retainer situation can help you like get your footing. But very quickly, you start learning how long things take. You
Mm-hmm.
learn about the results because it's really about the constraint as a contractor is results. I mean, we don't want to get in trouble with the IRS over here, right? Like they
Right.
can't we can't treat our contractors like employees. We get in trouble. So what's the number one thing? Have a contract that specifies results. What are those results? And then that gets you out of the hourly. And I do say it's okay to start there. You
Mm-hmm.
just can't stay. You can't
Yeah.
stay.
And but startups, people who are just getting into business or who think that they need the experience to keep their prices low, most of your customers don't know your startups unless you tell them.
Yeah.
So don't go in thinking that, having an ultra low price will get people to stay loyal to you because they won't.
Yeah.
So you go in there and you have the confidence that you can tell them, I've been doing this job or I've been doing this, working in this industry for a long time. And so I went so low. These are my prices.
Yeah.
Leave it at
Yeah.
that. You don't have to explain your whole work history and because most people aren't going to ask, and most people aren't going to ask for certifications. They just don't. I don't know why.
Thank you. Thank you. That's like such a
Uh,
sticking point coming
yeah,
up now.
yeah. But I do like this next one because you are a mother, and those that have kids that operate a business, not the kids operate, but you're operating as an entrepreneur and have kids. Your next trait is we don't let having babies be an excuse.
Yeah.
So many people, whether you have kids or your employees are you consider babies, um, always use them as a crutch to, oh, I can't do something because I'm watching my kid or I'm doing this or doing. Look, I've been working remote for 10 years. I can do anything. Just
Yeah.
get it done.
Yeah, I've seen that happen where it's just excuseville, but you can't let it stop you. And I mean, I see this come up in so many different ways too, with any kind of unfortunate life situation. And people, I think freelancers kind of get a bad rep. I think there's a cultural thing that happens sometimes. And this is like going to unpack a lot here, but you've gotta stick with it and be professional and work through that. And
Mhm.
on the flip side, I work with clients who get it, right? Like they know I'm military and yes, every couple years we have to move and I am going to be out of pocket a few weeks while my house is in boxes and you're
Mhm.
just going to deal with it because I deal with you when you go on vacation. And as long as you're giving people a heads up, but yeah, stuff happens, but I think it's how you use it. Do
Mhm.
you give excuses? Like some people are just naturally whiny about it. And oh my gosh, I could talk about this a lot, but it's true. We are freelancers because we wanted freedom, but that doesn't mean we have a bad work ethic. It doesn't mean that we're not ambitious. It just means that we want a balanced life,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
And
That's
for me,
all.
starting a business, well, my first business 28 years ago was never about money. It was always
Oh, yeah.
about freedom, you know,
Good.
getting back to, what can I do to benefit my family first?
Yeah.
And my older kids didn't understand that because it seemed like I was doing things backwards. To
Yeah.
get that business running, I was working a lot of hours, bringing the money in, supporting everybody. And, as I got older, as the business matured, I was able to bring on people
Yeah.
and kind of, have that freedom to go on vacation, to take a day off, to do this, to do that. And it does take time and you have to be patient. But it leads us to the last trait, which is saying yes to big opportunities. I know that there's a lot of people out there that get scared because the opportunity maybe is bigger than what they thought. But I'm going to tell you that, 10 years ago when I launched my very first book, and I've told this story before, um, publishers wanted thick, complicated books. And my book was very simple, 128 pages or 120 pages, something like that, about social media. Just simplify it. It was probably the easiest social media book you'll ever read.
Awesome.
And I decided that after getting so much flack from the publishers, I created my own publishing company. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just did it. And my book sold, I think, 2,000 copies right away.
Amazing.
And from that point on, I had other people, hey, Rob, I love your book. Can you help me write mine? Can you help me do this? Can you help me do that? Well, those led to bigger and bigger and bigger opportunities that I didn't have. And had I said, no, I'm not going to start this publishing company. I'm going to work for someone else. I'm going to have them do my book. These opportunities would have never come to me. So sometimes saying yes to that initial thing that you think is weird or wrong or it's not going to work for you will help you say yes to for future things.
Love it. And we get such mixed messages with boundaries. They're like, you only do this and stay in this lane. But I would not be here today if I didn't say yes. And I didn't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I had a PR. This is how I started my business. I was in a PR communications role. I was a director. Somebody came to me and said, would you help me with something called Facebook? And it was like, 2008, and we're kind of all playing with it. We haven't quite figured out how to do it for business and do some PR pitching. I got PR pitching in the bag. I was doing a little bit of social media for my nonprofit. And I said yes. I said yes. And I didn't know this was going to set me on this trajectory to being a freelancer, replacing my full-time income.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look back through my history, there's all these little moments where I could have said, no, I don't know enough, or there's somebody better who knows more. But it's this can-do attitude of yes, and I will figure it out, and I can trust myself to figure it out. Like that's the essence of what I'm teaching. And this is why this whole concept of unicorns works really well. I'm like, get your foot in the door in a business with something you know well, something you did in your past life. If you can add in the marketing skills or digital anything that's super relevant right now, like you're a shoe-in, right? And then you start saying yes, because people want to keep it in-house. They don't want 28 different specialists on their team. And I can remember when my big client was asking me to do Instagram. And I like, sometimes I'm a little grandma in my head. I'm like, I don't want to learn something new. And it was, let me think what year it was, probably 2015 or 16. I'm like, I don't want to. And I'm like, yes, I will do it. And like, thank God, because I needed that skill for my toolbox. Like Instagram was blowing up. It became the new, hot social media platform. And it's all these little moments, right? Like you just have to put yourself out there and do what you did, like create the path for yourself, which is what you did with your publishing company.
Yeah. And we just produced our 37th book in 10 years.
Congratulations.
And I have 4 more on the slate, and I'm not a big publisher, but it's enough that I know that the books that we're putting out for people, for our clients, are helping their clients, giving them the authority, and it's giving them opportunities that were brought to us as well, and but there are so many people out there offering, to hire a VA or do this and do that, and you're doing things, I think, on a little bit different perspective, and you teach people, I think VA strategy is different than what they are.
Yeah, I think kind of going back to that first story is the term VA's always bothered me. It's more of an industry. There's different types of VAs. What people really need is a job title. So what I have done is narrowed down on that marketing assistant, because that's where people are really drowning these days. There's so much content to produce. They're trying to grow their email list, nurture their audiences, and sell to them. This is too much for an entrepreneur. And the 80-20 rule, right? Most of this can be outsourced and should be outsourced. Problem is, there's a lot of VAs who act like they know SEO. I know you see this. Every time I do an audit for SEO, I was like, she said she knows how to do this. Very obvious. No. And so I just saw such a gap. Excuse me. I was on a really big team, and we hired real cute social media manager. Real cute. Had a big following. Probably everyone she went to high school with. And she was taking over the blogs and the content, and I realized she didn't know a dang thing. And so that's when I started training people. I'm like, this isn't rocket science. And it felt weird to me because I'm training someone to replace me and giving her everything I had spent figuring out in the last 8 years. And then that's when I started building my course. And I'm like, I can empower women to do that. And I remember thinking about Laura specifically. She was the commander's wife. And I'm like, Laura has an engineer background. She hasn't worked in a while, freaking smart, capable. She wants to work during school hours. She doesn't want to go back to a 60-hour engineering firm. Things have changed since her 7-year baby break. And so I'm like, if I train Laura how to do it, now she's a launch manager. And I mean, look at her type A, analytical background. She's perfect for it. Yeah. But she just needed a leg up into getting that space. So I took the training when we first hired that social media manager. That's when the light bulb went off for me. I was like, I know more than I think I know. I'm freaking running this business. Let's help other people. And I had so many clients because I was a unicorn, always booked out, never had to market myself, didn't do anything I should have done for myself. Didn't have a website, didn't have a social. It didn't matter. Everybody wanted to hire me. It was great. But now it's getting really competitive. You talk about the scammers. There's the digital conners who act like they know it. And what I see is a lot of social media managers who act like they know marketing.
Yeah. And that was the reason why I came out with the scammers book is not only the Visa MasterCard people, but the ultimate, the emails with the SEO, the web, and this and that. And so you get them, and the email is wrong. It doesn't match up to anything, and it doesn't even have a company name. It has Harold. Well, we're going to offer you all this stuff, Rob, from Harold. It's a scam. But people fall for it every day, and all I wanted to do was protect people against it.
Good.
But the scams have gotten better. And here's the thing: if scammers take the time to get better at what they're doing, why aren't you getting better at what you're doing as an entrepreneur? Something to think about. And then I love the fact that it's you're not calling them VAs. As you say, the VA has this weird connotation. You're giving them titles. Launch manager. That sounds awesome. That sounds like they've gotten the skills needed to help me better. Because as an entrepreneur, I don't want 16 VAs that don't know anything, and then I got to babysit them all day long. Okay, I got Laura the launch manager. I got Jesse the IT person, the ninja. And so it makes it so much easier as an entrepreneur to say, okay, red team's focusing on this, B team is focusing on whatever, whatever color number you want to, call them. At least, they're taking 80% off that plate so you can focus on getting your stuff done.
Yeah.
And
Well, here's what happens. Here's what happens. We hire a VA, we make them do frickin' everything. We give them multiple bosses in some cases, and it's a real Frankenstein role, and it doesn't set that person up for success. We need clear lanes, we need constraints, and we need one boss, and we need a clear role. And Unicorn VA, which was originally what I started with, does not mean one does everything and runs the business. So there's 6 main departments in a business. And it's okay to have a little crossover when you're a startup, but just know that this is going to separate out and people are going to have their role. And so that's why I'm like, hire that person, get them spun up in your business, give them the opportunity to shine, figure out their strengths, move them on up, and then you can bring in people to do the weaknesses or do like the roles they didn't want to do. I've seen this happen time and time again when you can't go out and hire your dream team. Okay, 6 departments of business. We have operations, which is usually where a lot of like the admin VAs are helping run the business, accounting and finance, HR, product development, which is usually the CEOs coming up with the ideas, right? Customer service, marketing, and sales. So why are we trying to have somebody do it all? And that's why I am like really developing that marketing lane. Do some of my people come with unique backgrounds? Like I have a couple women who did bookkeeping. That's quintessential unicorn there, but is that normal? No. And if you have somebody who can do multiple things like that, they're going to charge you more, and you pay them more. But the biggest thing that gets me is when you're trying to get your marketing person to also be your operations, also do your accounting, also do your customer service. Like that's when you set that person up for failure.
Yeah, that's it's like I was just watching an older movie, and you go in this old town, and the morgue director is also the postman, also the and he's got like 16 hats. And none of them are related, and and that's what sometimes these entrepreneurs are doing. They're giving all these jobs to one VA who can't handle it,
who doesn't even understand business strategy, marketing strategy, and what's happening. And that's why I like that marketing role. Like things just got clear for me because it's just specialized and general enough where it's easy to get your foot in the door. And then you do that say yes to big opportunities thing, and you grow, you constantly learn. Like if you don't love learning, if you don't love new challenges, if you're not comfortable with the uncomfortable, like that's not the right department for you. Like you might need to go back over to admin land and just like check off your list. Like that's okay. There's a time and place for all of us. And sometimes I like a variety. I know you like a variety. Sometimes I like the little task where I don't need to deep think. Like I need that. I can just do it. I can watch TV while I do it and I'm happy and I'm making money. Like that's cool. But
I think it's time for you to have a VA book.
I think so too. I already know. I want to. I just the writer in me at heart. I wrote my first chapter last year for this collaborative book. It was really hard. Like, it was hard for me. First draft, easy. I can whip it out. But that first edit you do on your draft, I don't know how you do it because that just took a lot of deep thinking.
The very first book, I think there was 15 revisions to the whole book. I mean, I started out with an idea and then it evolved and I changed and now I have it down to a science, especially the Rob versus books, because they basically write themselves at this point. The stories happen just about every day. I write them down and they go in the next book. But
awesome.
With clients, a lot of times I'll spend 3-4 hours with them via Zoom or audio phone call, and I'll question them. I'll get them to share their stories, and then I'll transcribe them and rewrite them, and then I can figure out, okay, how is this going to flow? Are we gonna kind of do a normal time frame, or are we gonna space it out where we're just going to share some stories and then go into other stuff, and then once I figure that out, it's just done. And I think that for every entrepreneur, you have to understand your process. You can't rush the process. And you have to understand every step in that process. And, for your 12 years, you learn these 6 common traits. For my 28 years, those common traits took a little longer to learn, but it was my process,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that most entrepreneurs don't want to put in the time necessary to learn the process.
Yeah. Or I see a lot of entrepreneurs, it's such a low barrier to entry, low startup costs. We start these online businesses. We're sold on the thought of freedom, that it's easy, but we're also missing huge components. Like if we took one course to teach us to do one thing, there's huge missing gaps. And that's what I come across. Like I see a lot of people kind of get through that startup phase and then they get in that growth stage where they really need to dial in systems and processes. And that's when it becomes real business. And then they see the holes and then they realize, oh, I have to hire the right people. It's time to level up. I need these solid departments. I need the solid process that you're talking about. So that, I work with a lot of course creators, membership site owners. We have a lot of coaches, service providers, influencers. It's a lot of people in the digital space trying to grow the digital, their audience, trying to make digital products and have those multiple revenue streams, but they're all passive income, so passive and easy. And it's anything but. It's taken me, I started from zero. I started with nobody on my email list. I was so angry about it because I had been behind the scenes of businesses, not doing anything for myself. But it's taken me three solid, hard years to nail down ICA, messaging, offers, become known, be perceived as a thought leader. And I'm going into year 4 right now. And I'm finally feeling like I've made it. I've had some successful launches, but that did not happen overnight.
No. And for everybody who's out there thinking that growing your email list, and it is okay to think that way, but I've been going through my email list and I've been removing people every single month. And people are like, well, why do you do that? I said, well, they haven't bought from me in so many years. They haven't communicated. They haven't chatted. They haven't, picked up the phone. They haven't responded. Whatever the reason, I don't feel that they're right anymore. And, as I start to look at the avatar that I really want to focus on, that ideal client, makes a certain amount of money, does this, makes these decisions so quick, basically my vision of the unicorn that I want to service. Yeah. I have to go through my email list, my social media list, any list that I have, and start getting rid of people because they are not that ideal client. When I start doing that and dialing things down, I don't want my posts to go viral anymore. I don't want my videos, to be seen by 1 million people. And I want that one person who is my ideal client to pick up the phone, call me, give me their credit card, and let's do business. Yeah. And everybody talks about conversion. Most people have a conversion problem, is the fact that they don't know how to convert that ideal client into a customer. Yeah.
Well, I haven't talked about this too much outwardly, but I grew the wrong email list. Yeah. And it all came down to messaging and my own voice. And I have had to mature as a business owner and really get clear. And now I call them power statements. I cannot help the downtrodden and the desperate. You need a full-time job with benefits.
And this was another reason why I wrote the series of books, is because these are my form of rejection marketing. If you don't like sarcasm, you're not going to enjoy my company. If you love the book, if you love to laugh, if you love to learn the micro lessons that are in the book, you're going to enjoy hiring me and seeing what we can do for you. Yeah. But, people are like, well, Rob, I didn't find it funny. It's because you're not sarcastic. You're not. And I go through that in each book. There's 7 of them now. Each one of them has about 50 stories in them of me dealing with and these morons of lousy customer service, these yahoos, whatever. They're geared to showcase my personality, my voice,
Yeah.
and it's become my brand.
Love
And
it.
I don't want 1,000 customers because I only need 20 or
Right.
30 of them to make me an awesome income.
Yeah, my friend Brenda McGowan is a pre-launch strategist. She calls it the right fit ready client.
Hmm.
And I know what we do. We're taught to do this ICA research. And then I know other VA programs are like, it's a woman in her 30s with 2.5 kids and goes, whatever. That's not it. For me, it's a psychographic.
Hmm.
And okay, hopefully they never listen to this podcast, but I had my team. I had
No,
my
we want
team.
people to listen.
Yeah, let's start with that. I had my teammate go through a competitor's launch.
Hmm.
First of all, we are very extremely different, but somebody started at the right time and has more numbers. And she went through it and she's like, Emily, everybody's like whining in the comments and woe is me. And their whole message was, if you want to become a VA, all you need to do is stop watching Netflix. You can do it. And I'm like, that's not my person. And that actually gives me such ammo. I'm like, that's not my person. My person isn't sitting on the couch watching Netflix. Okay, maybe you're chilling at the end of the day, but you're volunteering, you're getting stuff done because you're a workhorse and you see your worth and you have skills, right? Like that's my person. That's a psychographic,
Hmm.
right? And so that rejection marketing, like absolutely. Like I love that. I've never heard that. And I don't want to talk. I don't want the couch. I call them the couch clickers. I don't want the couch clickers who
Yeah.
click and then just sit there.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was, I've read so many books on attraction marketing, and it's like, yeah, I don't want to attract all these yahoos.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just, I, I'm not, I'm not into peopling. I mean, I want the right type of audience in the room to hear me,
Yeah.
to appreciate me, to want to do business. But everybody else, no, forget it.
Yeah.
You're giving me a headache.
Be selective. Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
I have another story for you. So I was in this like coaching call with a social media guru and she was giving everyone advice. And I'm always the last person to be like, okay, my turn. And she found out I was a military spouse and she's like, you should use words like bomb and deploy. And as soon as I heard it, and not even like the violent tendencies, as soon as I heard it, I was like, F no. And I mean, I got such clarity in the moment. Everyone else was walking away with great ideas. And I had like the opposite effect. And I was like, actually, I want to talk to the military spouse who predominantly 92% are women, doesn't want to wear her husband's rank.
Yeah.
That's the woman I want. And so then I had this whole idea for this ad campaign about the dependopotamus, which is the word we say for a military dependent who just expects benefits
Mm-hmm.
to be handed to her just because she's married. And I mean, we sacrificed a lot. I have sacrificed a lot. I have a spouse with PTSD. Like I have been through hell. I'm not discounting that, but I'm not entitled to anything. I'm going to work for it. And so then I did a whole ad campaign about that. I got a lot of haters.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, that's cool. You're not my person. Some people got my humor because it was, offensive to some people, but I was like, that's because you see truth in yourself. And yes, it did have a huge hippopotamus.
Mm-hmm.
And it just maybe the military community wasn't quite ready. There is a kind of a toxic vibe over there, but it gave me that clarity. It gave me that clarity of what I was as a brand, and I needed that growth.
Yeah. And
who do I not stand for?
right. And just because your competitor is doing something, charging something, saying something, doesn't mean you have to follow. Because usually they're wrong.
Yeah.
And now you just follow them, and now you're wrong too. Or you're not charging enough. To me, it's I've never been a fan of the word competitor, because for me, I do what I do because I love doing what I do. And so once I started thinking that way, I have no competitors. No one does exactly the way I do things. And
unicorn.
so when people approach me, if I can't figure it out, I will refer them to somebody else that I think can help them. Not necessarily a competitor, but a resource.
Yeah, I like that change of thinking. And that's really the community I'm trying to create with my digital marketing assistants is abundance. There's plenty of work. There's a right fit there. and then we pass on and share referrals, and we tag and encourage each other. Sometimes we're putting our names in the hat for the same job, because I do share jobs with my work group, but it's not, I don't look at it like that either. So
Right.
I love that you said that. And sometimes I mean, in marketing, you have to know your unique selling proposition. You have to.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the same as anyone out there too. It's just,
Yeah.
how do I get that message in front of more people so they can see it? Because too many people just, I mean, they're good for what they're good for. And I have a way different program, a way different opportunity.
Yeah. So how do people find you? Where do they go?
So I have a Unicorn Digital Marketing Assistant School. It's on self-study if you want to learn marketing skills as a freelancer, but I also have a live cohort coming up in October. I'm excited to kick that off, but I'm having the most fun on Instagram. I finally got over my granny attitude and embraced it, and I'm having a lot of fun over there. It's Emily Reagan PR. Somebody beat me to Emily Reagan, so I added PR for public relations, because at the time I had an agency. Somebody was telling me I had to change it, and I'm like, no, I'm not. It's going to stay there. It's just Emily Reagan PR, and you're going to have to deal with it.
And the website is the same, emilyreaganpr.com.
Yeah. And then I also have a podcast called Unicorns Unite, where we talk a lot about marketing, doing the work behind the scenes as the entrepreneur in that supportive role, so we can be better. Because my ideal person is slightly a marketing nerd, loves to learn, loves challenges, and always wants to give her best. So check out that podcast too. I would love it.
So everybody, I want to thank you for listening, and I want you to go to Emily's website. I want you to go listen to her Unicorns Unite podcast. And if you just fed up with unicorns, read my book, Rob versus the Unicorns. It's on Amazon in print and Kindle, along with all the other brilliant Rob versus books. Just go to robversus.com. And I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the 250th episode or other episodes. Adios.